impressive. That ball is gone.
This is Turner Sports. The road to the Final Four is filled with adversity, littered with pressure. Moving forward takes resolve and toughness, strength and stamina. Face up or bow out.
Jayhawks has been patrolling that paint. The Thompson was fight. Whoa! As I saw Syracuse hangs on.
The Sweet 16 continues on TBS.
Tonight on TBS, Tyler Zeller in North Carolina taking on upset-minded Ohio. And later, Player of the Year candidate Thomas Robinson leads Kansas against NC State as the remaining 4 spots in the Elite Eight are filled. The madness continues. Last night, Syracuse, Ohio State, Louisville, and Florida advanced. Tonight, with 2 games in St. Louis and 2 in Atlanta, the field of 68 will be whittled to 8. Welcome to Studio J in Atlanta and the Infinity NCAA Tip-Off Show. Ernie Johnson with Sports Illustrated's Seth Davis, Michigan State legend and NBA champion Steve Smith, and our special guest, VCU head coach Shaka Smart. You know, you hear this term step up all the time. That's obviously a chance for him to do that tonight. But we want to go through a couple other players and start in the Midwest, Smitty, and we will start with you in NC State.
Well, you know, Lorenzo Brown for me is a 6'5", 190-foot-pound point guard that's been converted to that position. You know, the first thing Godfrey did was ask Lorenzo Brown to move from shooting guard to the point guard, and that's not an easy position running a team when you're used to scoring the basketball. But when you look at it, C.J. Williams talked about it. He was a point guard in high school. He just grew a lot and he converted to 2 rebounds the basketball extremely well in the tournament. He's averaging about 7.5 rebounds to go along with 7.5 assists. He is definitely capable. At 6'5", I think he's going to do a good job of defending that point guard position versus Taylor.
One of 3 players in the country with at least 200 assists and 60 steals. Coming right up on the Infinity NCAA Tip-Off Show, Player of the Year candidate Thomas Robinson and the Jayhawks of Kansas racing for the Wolfpack of NC State. Awesome.
Brimming with confidence.
Dr. Smith. 1983 National Championship flashback. Lorenzo Charles, Derek Wittenberg.
Come on, Dream. Block out.
Jimmy Valvano. An iconic image of the NCAA tournament. NC State over Houston. NC State, the Sweet 16. They got Kansas tonight in the finale. It's here on TBS around 10:17. And what do you say we catch up on the Wolfpack with more of our Confidential series?
I've never liked it when coaches say we're rebuilding because I think it's kind of an out. I'm never interested in that. We always want to have a goal to go to the NCAA tournament. So I think our current players appreciated the fact that, you know, this year isn't just a throwaway year. We're here to play, and I think they've done a great job with that.
Everybody's like, oh yeah, UNC's gonna run into trouble when they play Kansas. This and that. I'm like, oh, Kansas must not have a game, huh?
Yeah.
I talked to Coach and I was like, you know, Coach, you know, I'm a senior, I only have 1 year left. If you're trying to rebuild, like, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get to the NCAA tournament. And he told me straight up, CJ, I'm not trying to rebuild. I'm trying to win games right now. You know, I have aspirations of winning the national championship. I know what it takes to get there, and I need you there with me. So, you know, I bought in right away.
Are you a Final Four team? Are you a Final Four team? What separates these 16 teams left? Desire, want to, belief, confidence, knowing you can. That's what separates, guys, right there. That's what separates. We got to be hungry, which we've been. And in my opinion, guys, we got to get better. We got to improve individually, improve foul shooting, improve jump shot, improve ball handling, improve execution, down screen, improve defense, improve on the ball screen defense. We got to improve. That's what's going to get us there. That's what's going to get us there. Put the Davidson game on for me one time. I want to watch a little bit and put it just like midway through the first half. And what did they do well to enable them to beat them?
They guarded, they doubled Robinson with different guys and packed it. They didn't give him second shots. And they pounded Kansas under the glass. What separates the 16 teams that are left is a will to win. I think it's a commitment to doing things right, executing right, and staying focused, and also having a belief that you can win. I think some teams that are here, they're not sure they can really win. You know, deep down, are we really good enough? You have to believe it. I think our players do. I believe it. I think our players believe they can be a Final Four team.
You know what? I believe it too. The way NC State's playing right now, I don't think it's ever a gimme against that bunch. And Lorenzo Brown, you see what he's done in the last 5 games, and he was the guy you talked about as a performer who has stepped up in this tournament. What do you see against Kansas tonight?
Well, you know, I think for one, defensively, he has to do a great job on Tyshawn Taylor. But I think also, speaking about Lorenzo Brown, it speaks to me volumes about his character. Here's a guy, a 2-guard that's a scorer, that's changed into a point guard and wants to play that position to win. You know, you talk about having the versatility to be able to do that, that's one thing, but having that mindset to say, hey, what's the betterment for the team that I will do, and I think that's a great thing for Lorenzo Brown.
Mark Gottfried thinks that this can be a Final Four team. Do you think his team thinks they can be a Final Four team?
Well, I think they do, and a couple things that stood out to me in that confidential. Number one, when you take over a coaching situation, there's always 2 segments of players. The players you inherited and the players you brought in. And I think he did an unbelievable job to a man of getting the guys he inherited better. And now you're talking about a team in NC State that really spreads the wealth. They have 5 guys that average double figures. And guess what, Ernie? They're all returning players. C.J. Leslie, Lorenzo Brown, Scott Wood, Richard Howell, C.J. Williams. All these guys came back and they got better. So Mark Gottfried not only has got them to believe, but he also has them playing better and better.
It's a pretty solid bunch, as he points out, with that nucleus.
Yeah, and it's been a process. I mean, they've struggled at various points this year. They got a nice win over Texas in December out of the Meadowlands, which I think was, out of Newark, which I think was good for their confidence, get a nice non-conference win under their belt. Then they struggled in the ACC regular season, and then they had that game at Duke where they were up 20 points in the second half and lost the game. Mm-hmm. And they could have gone one of 2 ways. I mean, you watch that game and you say they've got to be potentially demoralized by something like that, but they hung in there and hung in there and hung in there right to the end of the selection show when they made the tournament. And you know, they're certainly playing with house money. They're going up against a great team tonight who I think can play a lot better than they've played. But to even be this far right now playing in this game is quite the accomplishment.
And they kind of got a spark, even though they didn't win the ACC tournament, they played well in the ACC tournament. It really did give them a spark going into the NCAA. Last time Kansas and NC State met, again, we're going to the Wayback Machine, Mr. Peabody. Holy moly, look at Larry Brown and Jimmy Valvano again. This is 1986 Midwest Regional Final. Jayhawks won at 75-67. Chris Washburn had 17 for the Pack. Danny Manning led Kansas with 22 and 6 assists. Greg Dreiling chipping in with 19.
Greg Dreiling.
Yeah, Kansas.
That was a handshake, by the way. They hugged, they shook hands. I mean, that's how it's done, Shaka.
Very, very warm.
Can you demonstrate for us again?
You see Kansas with 18 trips to the Sweet 16 since 1985. I'm telling you, they are, I don't want to say they're fortunate to be here, but I mean, they came up with a big play late against Purdue, or the Boilermakers are standing here.
Well, Thomas Robinson obviously has carried this team on his shoulders, but they have other guys that have stepped up. Withy has had a phenomenal year, one of the more improved players in the country. And I think Bill Self has done one of the best coaching jobs of his whole career, because you're talking about a Kansas team that was expected to take a step back, and now here they are, #1 seed.
Elijah Johnson came up with that big play late against Purdue.
Well, you play against a good team in Purdue. That's not only a good team, but a tough matchup, because they're one of the few teams out there who can really match Kansas's physical toughness. And you get Thomas Robinson and Tyshawn Taylor combining 4 for 23 from the floor, and Robbie Hummel going off. They should lose that game. That's what happens in the NCAA tournament. They clamp down on the defensive end. Purdue shot 29% in the second half. They had other guys step up. To me, that's championship basketball. That's why I think maybe having gotten that, out of their system a little bit, that they're going to play very well tonight.
And Robinson's a walking double-double. How does NC State deal with him tonight?
Well, I think it has to be on the offensive end with C.J. Leslie. He has to kind of play the Robbie Hummel role, where he has to take him on the outside, also face up, and also bother him defensively. And I think Robbie Hummel did that against Kansas. I think Jeff Withy is the guy that's going to have to help out Thomas Robinson. He can't get in foul trouble. He's going to have to definitely play Richard Howell man-to-man, where he doesn't have to have Thomas Robinson coming over to help out, because that's what they did a lot in the Purdue game. But I look at North Carolina State front line. They have some guys that are very talented. C.J. Leslie, for me, when I got a chance to see him in the ACC tournament, I started to really like this kid. You throw the ball to him on the block, plays with his back to the basket, then he can face up, and he has a motor that will get up and down and play and defend. So I like North Carolina State's interior play. Well, watching him is unreal for me, Shaka. There was plays, you see him, he slider build, Ernie, but he caught the basketball in the post, a couple moves, and he dunks the basketball. And then he has post moves where he can come out and face up. But when you're talking about a guy finishing this way with that length, could get maybe Kansas front court in foul trouble.
Yeah, you're talking about a guy who's one of the top 10 players in the country coming out of high school. He struggled with consistency last year as a freshman, has really gotten better this year. I think something that really is going to be interesting to watch is what happens on the battle of the boards. Is Leslie a huge factor there? Is he able to take it at Robinson? Howell, as you mentioned, is a load as well. There's some very, very good front court players in this game.
Robinson with 25 double-doubles in 35 games. The guy wears number 0. And you know anybody who's ever worn 0?
I wore it in high school, Ernie.
Did you really?
Yeah, that was a rule. That was a rule when you were a freshman.
You walked in.
Oh, I walked right into this. That's my high school.
You didn't see that come. How did you decide on that?
I like the knee pads.
That was easy.
Steve, 87.
Well, you see my
Look at the high waters.
That's like an Ashley Judd pose. That's a good pose.
That was a rule, Ernie, by my high school coach. As a freshman, you come in, you wear 0.
Really? Okay. Did they also make you lay on that bearskin rug?
Hey, I was smooth. What kind of rule was
Maybe the Joe Namath commercial.
Xavier moving on. Carolina advancing. Ohio Bobcats.
Welcome to the madness.
Here we go.
Tonight, the Sweet 16 continues.
That's it. Indiana headed to the Sweet 16. And Kansas coming from 11 back.
Everything you've dreamed of.
North Carolina State heads to the Sweet 16. They are dancing in Athens, Ohio.
Everything you've worked for.
Oh, what a play!
Is at the end of this road.
Go to work, young fella.
This is the road to the Final Four.
The Big Easy awaits.
The madness continues.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Greg Gumbel in New York. Welcome to the Road to the Final Four here on TBS. Tonight, the 2012 NCAA Men's Basketball Championship Tournament continues as we get set to complete this year's Elite Eight. Here is how this evening's regional semifinals unfolds as we check out the Dove Men Plus Care viewing guide. Call ** Dove Men to access the viewing guide on your mobile phone. Coming up in just a few minutes here on TBS, number 13 Ohio faces North Carolina, the number 1 seed in the Midwest. In our doubleheader games, number 4 Indiana will challenge the overall top seed Kentucky in South Region action on CBS. Tip time at about 9:45 Eastern. And North Carolina State squares off against Kansas later tonight here on TBS. I am joined, as always, by Greg, Kenny, and Charles. Chuck, let me ask you about North Carolina State and Kansas later on.
I think that's the best game of tonight. I do. I think that is a fantastic game. Thomas Robinson has not played up his potential, or Tyshawn Taylor for Kansas, and they still advanced. But tonight, it's an interesting matchup with NC State. They got 3 guys who can guard Thomas Robinson. So he won't, he probably hasn't played against a player as good as him all season long. And those guys aren't as good as him, but you know what? They could wear him down. NC State got better depth, but the key is going to come down. Robinson has got to play well, and Tyshawn Taylor has got to play much better also.
See, I thought that North Carolina State, I really picked them to get to this round after watching them in the ACC tournament. But I think this is a round that it stops, only because I thought they had an advantage with Howell and C.J. Leslie. I thought those guys, no one saw guys like them or really had anyone that could equip to guard them. Thomas Robinson actually is equipped to guard those guys. He moves his feet well. He's able to defend on the perimeter and in the post. So to me, this is the game where they're going to see somebody who actually can stay in front of them. And I think that might be the difference for them. And then Lorenzo Brown's going to have his handful with Taylor. He's not going to have that skate around night.
All right, that's the game. That's the second game tonight on TBS.
Puts it up. Michael Jordan. Oh, my goodness. That is unbelievable. Dreams to come as good as it gets.
It is game 2 of the Midwest Regional Semifinal from St. Louis, with a large contingent of Kansas supporters making the trip from the campus at Lawrence. About a 5-hour drive, and they will be heard from throughout the evening as the number 11 seed in the Midwest, the Wolfpack of North Carolina State, faces the 2nd seed Jayhawks of Kansas, the winner to go up against North Carolina in the regional final here on Sunday. Hi, everybody. Marv Albert along with Steve Kerr, Craig Sager. Craig working the sidelines. We'll hear from him in just a moment. Now, Steve, in last Sunday's Kansas come-from-behind win over Purdue, the Boilermakers did a terrific job at holding National Player of the Year candidate Thomas Robinson in check. They threw double teams, they threw triple teams. What do you see in the matchup tonight against North Carolina State's leading scorer, C.J. Leslie, going up against Robinson?
Marv, they're both dynamic players, but they go about their business a little different way. Thomas Robinson wants to beat you inside with strength. C.J. Leslie likes to use his quickness. Remember, both clubs lack front court depth, so foul trouble could be an issue. But if those guys each have good games, Marv, it may come down to backcourt play. Both clubs with really athletic guard play, particularly Kansas. Remember this play, Elijah Johnson, the lob pass to Tyshawn Taylor late in that Purdue game. That was such a big basket. But NC State has a great guard in Lorenzo Brown, one of the best in the ACC, and C.J. Williams, the senior, averages 10 points. He's going to need to knock down a couple of threes to loosen up his Kansas defense.
So coming up, it's Kansas and North Carolina State vying to make it to the Midwest Regional Final on Sunday against the Tar Heels of North Carolina.
Coverage of the NCAA Men's Basketball Tournament is sponsored by Infinity, Dish, and by Fidelity Investments.
You've had to earn it. You've had to take it. Nobody's going to hand you anything. They're not going to hand it to you tonight. You're going to earn it. You're going to go get it. There's 7 billion people in the world, and you know what tonight is? It's your night.
Wolfpack head coach Mark Gottfried looking to get his team going as we check out the starting lineup. C.J. Leslie, 3-point specialist. Scott Wood and Richard Howell on the front line. C.J. Williams and Lorenzo Brown at the guards. Kansas with Thomas Robinson and Jeff Withey as the big men, along with Travis Rutherford, Elijah Johnson, and Tyshawn Taylor in the backcourt. North Carolina State, Adam Raleigh, advancing to the Sweet 16 in Columbus by beating San Diego State, and last Sunday that 66-63 win over 3rd seed Georgetown. And the Jayhawks coming off that come-from-behind win Against Purdue last Sunday, they actually led for only 45 seconds of that game.
That was a brutal matchup for Kansas. They had all kinds of trouble guarding Robbie Hummel. I think this is a better matchup here today, Marv, as Leslie tries to get to the rim, but the tip in from Howell. But for Kansas, this is a more conventional team they're playing against. They don't have as much ground to cover. NC State, not a great three-point shooting club, so their guards should be able to come down and get plenty of help on Leslie.
Robinson gets inside, comes up short. The Wolfpack 22-12 during the season, 9-7 in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Leslie is blocked from behind by Withy. And here come the Jayhawks. They have won 11 of their last 12 games. Johnson way off, and the ball back to North Carolina State. 11 of the last 12, including the wins over Detroit and Purdue, to advance to the Sweet 16. And this a Kansas team that has overachieved. Maybe one of the best coaching jobs done by Bill Self.
No question. Think about who they lost. The Morris twins. They lost both their starting wings. And I think Taylor's going to get called for a kick, which is a good call there. Delayed, but they got it right. But they lost. They also lost Josh Selby, Morningstar, Reed, and 4 starters for Bill Self are gone. And they pick up right where they left off, basically, and end up as a 2 seed in this region. Just another brilliant coaching job by Self.
This is the point guard, Lorenzo Brown, and he fires for 3. He shoots 42% from downtown and leads the Wolfpack with 94 from beyond that three-point line. So the fast start by NC State. That's a three-point attempt by Taylor. And the ball back in the hands of Brown, the 6'5" sophomore. As you mentioned earlier, very big backcourt, both Williams and Brown at 6'5". Here's Leslie rejected by Withy. Taylor with a hesitation move and draws the foul.
Well, the reason I said I think this is a better matchup for Kansas than Purdue was is that Jeff Withy, playing against a big team, can stay on the floor and he can protect the rim. And look at the block there. He was the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. In that Purdue game, he was frequently off the floor because Purdue basically played 4 three-point shooters out on the floor with 1 big in the middle. So same thing against Missouri. Their 2 matchups against the smaller Tigers. Withy ended up on the bench frequently. So in a more conventional game like this one, Withy can anchor that Kansas defense in the paint.
Howell on the foul. Taylor, a 69% free throw shooter earlier tonight here in St. Louis in overtime. A terrific finish with Ohio coming from 15 back, taking the lead on several occasions, up by 4 against the Tar Heels of North Carolina with about 3.5 minutes to go. The game went into overtime, and North Carolina was able to pull it out 73-65.
We got to be pretty worried right now, though, about Sunday, regardless of which one of these 2 teams they're facing.
Another block by Withy. That is his 3rd rejection here in the opening minutes.
He averages about 3.5. That's tops in the Big 12.
Brown forced it. Back comes Robinson. You can see they closed the space on Robinson and led to the travel.
And it's just a bad play. Bill Self very upset. Kansas has a very unique style, a very distinguished style that they play. You'll always hear Bill Self talk about playing on the second side, and what that means is starting the offense on one side, pounding it in, and then reversing the ball to get the defense to have to work. Robinson totally out of control, not allowing that offense to develop.
Howell, Taylor grabs the rebound. The only other time Kansas played NC State in the NCAA tournament, Jayhawks won it 26 years ago to the day. It was March 23rd, 1986 in Kansas City. Leslie is hacked. And at that time, Bill Self was a graduate student of Larry Brown's staff at Kansas. Bill says there was no room for him on the bench. He was actually in the stands behind the bench, and there's the one-time head coach of Kansas who won an NCAA title, Larry Brown, who Bill was telling us the other day has been a frequent visitor to practice at Lawrence.
Won that title in 1988. They beat Oklahoma in the final, and Danny Manning had one of the great games in NCAA tournament history against the Sooners. I want to say 37 points and 18 rebounds, or
we're going to fact check
something like that. Maybe 38 and 17.
Take another guess.
Either way, it was a lot of points and a lot of rebounds.
Elijah Johnson with the intended lob for Jeff Withy, and Kansas off to a very poor start.
Yeah, much like last week against Purdue, the difference, though, is that these are all unforced errors. Purdue was very physical with Kansas, and they bothered Thomas Robinson from the beginning, and I thought they took Kansas out of their game. These are unforced errors. The Jayhawks just need to settle down.
Kansas 0 for 4 from the field. They have 2 turnovers. Leslie gets inside. Nice move by C.J. Leslie, and a timeout is called. The Wolfpack with a 9-1 lead in the opening minutes. Look at our tournament summary. Syracuse with the win yesterday, making their first Elite Eight appearance since back in 2003. Baylor, a winner earlier against Xavier, second Elite Eight last 3 years. Big Ten, 10 up, 4 down thus far. Indiana out of the Big Ten, facing Kentucky late first half over on CBS and trailing by 3. Nice move by Robinson.
That was that second side we talked about, Marv. They started the ball on one side, swung it, and got great position for Robinson on the other. Kansas just has to be patient offensively, and they'll be able to get some good looks.
Backdoor pass broken up. That was the first field goal by Kansas. They were down 8-0 at the start to Purdue as Robbie Hummel was heating up early.
I'll say, was he ever?
There's Taylor off a pick, not able to hit the 3. Brown played by Taylor. Williams for 3. C.J. Williams, who shoots 34% from downtown, adds to the North Carolina State lead.
Well, I think C.J. Williams and Wood are really important performers for North Carolina State tonight because of their ability to knock down threes. Whitney loses the ball out of bounds. And meanwhile, Kansas has to settle down. This was their only good possession of the game so far. That's when they've looked like themselves, getting the ball to that second side, and Robinson down deep.
Welcome back to St. Louis. NC State leads 12-3. This is a rare matchup between two teams that each have 5 players who have scored 20 or more points in a game this year. But it's hard to imagine Kansas advancing without a big game from the Big 12 Player of the Year, Thomas Robinson. After going 2 for 12 against Purdue, he and assistant coach Danny Manning spent extensive time in the film room this week. They said, attacking Leslie, you have to catch the ball with long arms, attack his front foot, and play the angles to the basket. On the defensive end, they want Robinson to hold his ground, do not let him drive to the basket, and do not reach in and commit fouls. So they've been spending a lot of time working on this one-on-one matchup that you guys talked about at the beginning of the show. Mark?
All right, Craig, and C.J. Leslie, the leading scorer for North Carolina State, averaging just under 15 a game plus 7 rebounds. He does have issues with fouls, as does Richard Howell. Leslie on the rebound, puts it right back up. The tip is missed, but a foul is called on Kansas. Well, this year, enjoy more madness with Coke Zero. You can text CAMP to 2653 for a chance to attend an ultimate basketball camp with 3 of your friends. Well, Connor Tehan, who had just checked in, called for the foul. Deshaun Hunter has come on for North Carolina State, Wolfpack's first man off the bench. So he has come on as both clubs now making some substitutions.
Painter comes in for Richard Howell, who is very foul prone for NC State, and he's a really important player for the Wolfpack. So I think foul trouble both ways is going to be very important because neither team has a lot of depth down low. Kansas was fortunate that time that neither Robinson nor Withy drew that foul and went on Tehan instead.
Kevin Young has also come on for for Kansas. Here is Elijah Johnson off on that three-point attempt. Rebounded by Young. Young played well the other day against Purdue. Here's Robinson. Offensive foul.
Great play from Leslie Marv, who read the play, anticipated the move from Robinson after the pass from Kevin Young, and Robinson just lowers his shoulder. Leslie, nice job taking that charge.
And Thomas Robinson takes a seat. That's his first personal. Light pressure shown by Kansas. No problem for North Carolina State. Three-pointer was off the mark by C.J. Williams, and here comes Taylor. Taylor splits through. Rebounded by Young, and he backs it in.
Well, when we talked to Mark Gottfried yesterday, he said, what are you concerned about? He didn't talk about Robinson. He talked about transition defense. He said we have to limit Kansas's transition baskets, particularly Taylor and Johnson getting out ahead of us.
At the other in North Carolina State, a very good shooting team. 46% from the field. At the line, they've had their problems recently. Leslie rejected. That's the fourth block for Withey. Taylor trying to go baseline, gets it out to Johnson. Elijah Johnson. He was expecting contact and the foul. So Johnson with his first field goal.
I think NC State wanted a charge called on Johnson there as Brown gets tripped up, but again, no call.
1-on-3, and Johnson is hit from behind by C.J. Williams. Elijah Johnson has had a tremendous tournament, a major factor in that come-from-behind win last week against Purdue. And here's Withey with block number 4.
Yeah, how about the start for him? And because NC State does not shoot the three particularly well, Kansas really able to pack its defense in. The guards are digging down and helping, and then Withey just standing right at the rim waiting for any shot.
7-footer Jeff Withey, a junior out of San Diego. T-hand. Withey able to get to it. T-hand. Young. I don't know if T-hand lost it or actually got it to Young on the hop. And then Kansas coming back now within 4 off a 6-0 run. Seven minutes gone by. Marv Albert with Steve Kerr, Craig Sager from St. Louis. Peter Howell with the follow. Richard Howell. Average 11 points, 9 rebounds.
With Robinson on the bench, Kansas has gone to a smaller lineup. Howell just too big and strong for Kansas.
And Withey able to use the height advantage on Painter.
What a start for Withey, who has to feel comfortable in this setting. So different from last week's game against Purdue, when a lot of small guys out there that space the floor.
As a result, he could play only 15 minutes. Withey with block number 5. Recovered by Williams, C.J. Williams. It's kind of a late wake-up call once again for Kansas, but now North Carolina State has their attention.
Seems like Kansas is finally getting a little momentum, getting their crowd into it as well. And they're settling down offensively, doing a better job being patient.
Elijah Johnson pops it outside. Withey off the dribble. Withey lost it. Chased down by T-hand. And it may be a backcourt violation, yes. It was batted by Withey into the backcourt of the North Carolina State ball when we come back. All right, thank you, Greg. It is a 17-11 lead for North Carolina State. And they are in possession of that backcourt violation a moment ago. Alex Johnson has taken in, has come on for the point guard Lorenzo Brown. He is the backup. Johnson, a senior out of Toronto. Painter able to recover. Here comes Johnson. And he turns it over.
Tough to find an angle in there with both Withey and Robinson in the paint. Johnson, maybe a little over penetration on that one.
Rutherford coming off the screen. Coming off a big game against Purdue last Sunday. Robinson to just check back in. And here is Wood for 3. Robinson with the rebound. Nice pass down low, and Thomas Robinson with a second field goal. North Carolina State try to break and turn it over.
Yeah, poor decision there from Brown. Meanwhile, at the other end, probably the best possession we've seen so far. A little bit of a secondary fast break for Kansas. They get the ball swung a couple times. That allows Robinson the angle to get position. That's when he's so difficult to guard. It's not so much once he gets the ball, it's before he gets the ball. And if his teammates are moving the ball on the perimeter, he can gain deep position, and then it's just a matter of catching and turning and laying it in.
Robinson. Brown got a piece of it. That counts in the foul. The follow by Rutherford, and he will head to the line.
Another great possession for Kansas, getting the ball deep inside, and then you see the little hip check from Lorenzo Brown. So Kansas with 2 consecutive possessions where they've looked like themselves. Well, I'm sure Bill Self is happy. His club, after that horrendous start, has climbed right back in it.
3-point play for Travis Rutherford. North Carolina State now going with a backcourt of both Lorenzo Brown and Alex Johnson. Kansas within 1. Johnson for 3. Howell with the rebound. Blocked by Withy. It's number 6. Leslie trying to scoop it up. And Johnson able to keep it alive.
Withy has just been a monster here. Six blocks in 10 minutes.
That ties the Kansas block shot record for a half. Cole Aldridge coming up with 6 back in 2009. When you think back to Kansas history as Leslie fires from 3-point range, Howell not able to control Rutherford. You think Will Chamberlain, but they did not keep block shot statistics until 1974.
Yeah.
Until. Off the fake, Taylor tried to draw the foul, thought he was fouled, and now we get a call. It is on Howell of North Carolina State.
Well, look at the timing here on Withy. It looks like Howell's got a lay-in. He's been a beast on the offensive glass, and Withy denies it. Incredible defense here. The next step for Kansas is to try to secure some of those blocks on the other end, because North Carolina State with about 7 offensive rebounds to this point.
Thomas Robinson, a 68% free throw shooter. The NCAA Division I Women's Basketball Championship continues tomorrow. Regional semifinal action as Tennessee takes on Kansas. Coverage begins at noon Eastern. For more information, go to ncaa.com. So I'd have to say, quite a year for the Jayhawks men and women basketball teams. Game is tied at 17, just under 10 minutes remaining in this first half.
Withy gets a rest. We got a standing ovation from the Kansas crowd during that free throw when he went to the bench. And Kansas goes back to that smaller lineup. And you see Kevin Young on Leslie.
Howell not able to hit. And the call is made away from the ball.
They got Leslie, Marvin. That's his second foul. That was a frustration foul. And about 2 possessions ago, we saw him launch a 3-pointer, which is not his game. Look at this. He pulls Young from behind. I think a little frustrated. Leslie is a 31% 3-point shooter. He's only made 4 all season. So, he launches a 3. Now he commits the quick foul. He's 1 for 8 overall. Very frustrating start for him, and Mark Gottfried gets him to the bench.
And Kansas, after the slow start, working their way back. They swing it. 3-point attempt by Taylor. Robinson with the rebound. He looked to tie him up, and he called for time. So he saved the possession. Timeout, Kansas. We'll be back to St. Louis in a moment. A look at our game summary. And you see North Carolina State just 6 for 23 after the good start. Kansas 7 for 20 and 0 for 5 from beyond that three-point line. The Wolfpack, led by as many as 10, they jumped in front 13-3 in the opening minutes.
Well, their defense is really impressive too, Marv. They're very athletic on the front line. They're long in the backcourt, and now they've switched to a 2-3 zone for the second possession in a row.
Nice pass. Robinson will head back to the line. Painter on the foul. Thomas Robinson, who has come back from a difficult year last season over a 3-week stretch, December, January of his sophomore year, lost his mother, his grandmother, and his grandfather. Just an unimaginable time of his life. And he has come back to be one of the best players in the country, while last year he was coming off the bench because the Jayhawks were loaded.
Yeah, it was particularly the Morris twins. But I think the benefit for Robinson, despite not playing much, he got to practice against the Morris twins the last couple of years, and that's definitely benefited him here in his junior season.
First lead of the night for Kansas off a 16-4 run. Williams off the spin, rebounded by Robinson. That's his 7th rebound. Robinson on the drive, scoops it. And the foul is called on Kansas. Looked like Kevin Young trying to squeeze through. It's on Young. That's his first.
Coverage of the NCAA Men's Basketball Tournament is sponsored by Coca-Cola Zero, the new Enterprise Plus, and by John Deere.
Back in St. Louis, we mentioned NC State in a zone. Watch this. This is beautiful basketball by Kansas, running a zone offense. They're going to bring Relaford around and around a double pick along the baseline. And as he goes, it forces Howell, to the defender for NC State, to step outside. Then there's a pick set on the big man, and that gives Robinson the lane, and he gets fouled and gets a couple free throws out of it. Well done.
Kansas has come from 10 back. They lead by 2. Just under 8 minutes remaining, first half. Oh, the steal by Robinson. Williams is back. Robinson all the way. Thomas Robinson playing well in this first half. Howell lost the handle. Johnson for Relaford. Young off the fake, rejected by Wood of the Wolfpack.
Great transition defense for North Carolina State. Looked like they were going to get beat with a fast break hoop. But they are an athletic team. They can react quickly.
Jeff Withey coming on for Thomas Robinson, who hears it from the large contingent from Kansas. 10-0 run by the Jayhawks. Taylor. And that will count. It's a goal time.
Well, we mentioned both these clubs thin on the bench. Well, they both play 7 guys, but I think Kansas's depth is a little more pronounced because those 7 are very prominent players. NC State, Painter plays significant minutes, but Johnson just scattered minutes here and there. I think Kansas can wear out NC State a little bit.
Open shot for Wood. It's waved off. Offensive foul. Illegal pick set by Howell.
And that's 2 on Howell, and that's a factor because look at this. These are the 7 guys who play. Johnson only 16 minutes, Painter 17. He'll get more minutes here with Howell now. Was that on Howell? Did he pick up his second? I believe he did.
Yes.
So that's a major problem. Leslie and Howell with 2 fouls apiece.
Oh, the steal. Taylor lost it to Brown. Here's Brown. Nice feed. C.J. Leslie with the bucket. and ends the 12-0 run by Kansas.
Leslie was so good last weekend against San Diego State and Georgetown. Just dominating down on the block physically, but this bigger Kansas defense has frustrated him so far tonight. We'll see if that hoop gets him going.
Leslie has picked up his play in the last 10, 11 games. Taylor working baseline. Taylor deflects. Rutherford ends up with it. Withy gets on the floor and then a strip. Instead of going right up, put it on the deck and it costs. Here's Brown for Leslie.
Withy needed to go straight up with that, Marv. Instead, he brought the ball all the way down and tried to gain some momentum with his legs. You got to go straight up with that if you're a big man. Otherwise, those guards come down and strip you.
Kansas with a 2-point lead, just under 6 to go. First half. Withy over Leslie. Foul is called. It is on Kansas. Rutherford waving that it's on him, but it is not. It's on Kevin Young.
Yeah, which I think will be his second, and that'll bring Thomas Robinson back into the game. You see more Withy, not really a guy you go to on the block offensively. He's the guy you want on the weak side to clean up an offensive rebound. And Kansas gets Robinson back into the game. I'm sure they're going to go into him.
Coming into tonight, North Carolina State has won 6 of its last 7. The one loss to North Carolina in the ACC. Leslie sweeping for it, then Painter is fouled by Taylor. They lost that 2-point game to the Tar Heels in the semifinals of the ACC. Back in late February, they had dropped 4 straight, all within the conference, and it appeared they were dropping into oblivion, and then able to rally at the end of the season. They finished up at 22-12. And Painter will go to the line. Sean Painter, 72% free throw shooter. TNT this summer, new blood, old feuds. You can relate to that, Steve. Same battleground. Dallas for the latest on the all-new TNT series. Like us on Facebook.
You're talking about North Carolina State's season, Marv. It is Mark Gottfried's first year, and he inherited plenty of talent. But there were some question marks about just the chemistry and the direction of the team. And the one thing he did was he came right in and he's told Lorenzo Brown, this is your team. And everybody else kind of followed suit. Brown has been the leader for them. And the talent has really taken over. Gottfried's done a great job of putting people in position to succeed.
Connor coming up short on a 3, and then it's taken away. Good follow by Connor, and that counts, plus the foul. Connor Keehan able to scoop up the rebound. Painter on the foul.
We've seen a lot of this tonight for Kansas. Loose balls, guys just getting a hand on it. The 50-50 balls kind of going their way. Mark Gottfried frustrated with that one. Teahan, a three-point shooter, not normally a guy who's going to get in there and claw his way to an offensive putback.
And a couple of critical threes against Purdue last Sunday. Completes the 3-point play, and Kansas up by 4. Brown handling against Johnson. Now he's trying to get it to Wood. Wood has attempted only 1 shot, and he's an excellent shooter. Brown fires and hits from downtown. Lorenzo Brown with the 3. That's his second 3 of the half. As we come up on 4 minutes to play in this first half, the Kansas lead is 1. Elijah Johnson, yes. Oh, Brown runs into Johnson. The foul is on Johnson.
That's going to be Johnson's second, Marv, and that's important. Tyshawn Taylor will get off the bench to replace him. Johnson has been phenomenal. In fact, last 4 games averaging 18 points, 3 assists, 3 rebounds. Made 12 out of his 25 threes. During that time, we saw the huge effort in the second half against Purdue in Omaha a week ago.
Yeah, Elijah Johnson has made the transition from a guy who comes off the bench averaging 4 points to a starter. During the season, averaging 10 a game, 4 assists, but as you mentioned, he has really picked it up in the tournament. Robinson is looking for position down low. Taylor. Rutherford finding Withy. Taylor just turning on Robinson and hitting the outside shot.
He can make that shot. He averages 6 points a game, most of which are little jump shots around the 12, 15-foot range. And you have to be aware. You've got to get a hand up on him. It's interesting watching this game, Marv. It's like it's being played in a much smaller radius than a lot of the games we've seen. Very little three-point shooting, so the spacing is poor for both clubs. And both defenses really packing the paint.
Nice cut by Brown, and then someone got a hand in. Leslie trying to fire it up, and Rutherford comes up with it. The winner between North Carolina State and Kansas will take on the Tar Heels of North Carolina, who just did get by Ohio, and they did it in overtime. Robinson rims out. Here comes Lorenzo Brown. Leslie. And a foul is called.
They got Withy, Marv, blocking on Leslie, excuse me.
See real stories of human achievement featured on the Buick Human Highlight Reel at ncaa.com/Buick. The head coach, North Carolina State, Mark Gottfried, in his first season with the Wolfpack following Sidney Lowe. Gottfried had success at Murray State, Alabama, and spent some time as a TV commentator. He said at times he felt lonely on the road as a television commentator. And I saw you agreeing with him.
Totally
That is so
agree.
sad.
Yeah, it's lonely out here. You know, he was an assistant at UCLA, Marv, for 8 years under Jim Herrick. In fact, he was on that staff of the team in '95 that won a championship over Arkansas. But he takes a lot of his principles from John Wooden. We're going to see Robinson go to the foul line here. But Mark Gottfried, a John Wooden disciple, runs a lot of UCLA-based offense. He even repeated a couple of Wooden-style mantras yesterday. I said, you've stuck with a lot of the UCLA stuff, huh? And he said, yeah, as Coach Wooden used to say, coach what you know and know what you coach.
Thomas Robinson, 9 points and 8 rebounds.
And there's that pyramid of success that John Wooden wrote. And it's on the wall in the weight room at North Carolina State. So not only strategically, but philosophically, Mark Gottfried reaching back to his UCLA roots.
And at Alabama, Gottfried's teams made it to 5 NCAA appearances, including an Elite 8 back in 2004. Game is tied at 28. Wood was about to force it and then gave it up to Tyler Harris, making his first appearance tonight. Connor Tehan on the drive again.
Wow. You might only see 2 layups a month from Connor Tehan. We've seen 2 in the last few minutes here. And at the other end, he's doing a great job of really shadowing Wood, who's North Carolina State's best three-point shooter. In fact, one of the best in the country.
Wood to this point with only 1 shot attempt. 1.5 minutes left, first half. And that is deflected by Harris. And they say last touch by Kansas. Bill Self appealing to the officials. He thought Tyler Harris, yes, he gets the call. It was last touch by Harris of North Carolina State.
Yeah. Good job by the officials to confer and get it right. Meanwhile, NC State, they need to knock down a three-pointer or 2 just to soften up this Kansas defense. Of course, we could say the same thing in the other direction. Kansas 0 for 6 from the three-point line. And this game really being played in the paint.
As we see right here with Robinson getting the roll. 11 points for Thomas Robinson in a bounce back, facing a different scenario than he saw last week against Purdue. Wood with room for three, yes. Scott Wood, who is an excellent shooter, coming up with his first field goal.
Tehan fell asleep for the first time all game, Marvin. That's all Wood needs.
Robinson on the follow. Rebounded by Harris.
That was a big shot from Wood. Mark Gottfried's going to take a timeout to make sure his team closes this half well. But that three from Wood just keeps the momentum going for the Wolfpack.
Reminder coming up on AT&T at the half. Greg Gumbel, Greg Anthony, Kenny Smith, and Charles Barkley will take you out for a live look at Kentucky, Indiana, plus all the latest NCAA tournament news, all coming up on AT&T at the half.
How about that Kentucky-Indiana game? I think it was 50-47 at the half. It's now 52-49 early second. That's like the final score of half the games in this tournament. Where both those teams love to get up and down and run and shoot. That's got to be a wildly entertaining game.
Here in St. Louis, a half minute remaining. First half. Leslie being played now by Withy. Stop clock to 10. Leslie. Really slick, beautiful move. Able to spin his way against the 7-footer.
Against the 7-footer and four of his teammates. Seemed like everybody on Kansas was in the paint.
Final seconds of the half. Oliver could find the shot. Tehan does. Halftime in St. Louis. And North Carolina State with a 33-32 lead on Kansas. C.J. Leslie, only 4 of 12, but he's the high point man with 12 points. Thomas Robinson, a strong first half, 11 points and 9 rebounds. And Jeff Withy, shots. Let's go to Craig Sager.
Well, Coach, you got off to a great start, double-digit lead, but they came back. Were you getting the shots you wanted?
Sometimes. I think what we've got to do is be a lot stronger with the ball around the rim. They've scored around the rim. They've got a lot of offensive rebounds. We've had our hands on a lot of balls, but we're not securing it. We got to be a little stronger. It's going to be a physical game, a little tougher game, so we got to toughen up just a little bit.
All right, thanks a lot. At intermission right now, NC State 33, Kansas 32. We'll send you to the AT&T at the half after a quick break. You're watching the NCAA Men's Basketball Championship.
AT&T at the half is sponsored by AT&T, the nation's largest 4G network. Rethink possible.
Hi, everyone. I'm Greg Gumbel. Welcome to AT&T at the half and at the break in St. Louis. North Carolina State with a 1-point lead on the Kansas Jayhawks by a score of 33-32. I'm joined by Greg Anthony, Kenny Smith, and Charles Barkley. As we look at the first half highlights here, is it Kansas not playing as well as they can, or NC State doing the job?
I think NC State is proven to be more than capable and able in terms of how they go out and compete, and they've done a good job. C.J. Leslie's been very aggressive in this game. He's got 12 points to go along with 4 rebounds and done the job. Thomas Robinson, you know, coming off the disappointing performance against Purdue, he's come in very active and aggressive in this game thus far, almost a double-double, 11 points, 9 rebounds. But for me, it all boils down to Tyshawn Taylor from Kansas' standpoint. He's only 5 of 20 in the last game and a half that he's played. He has to be far more effective on the floor if they want to have a chance to get to a Final Four. I think he's confused, Greg. I said picked him as my sleeper player coming into the tournament, and he's been asleep. So Tyshawn Taylor's got to pick it up. Sometimes, you know, we talk about all these stats and all this. Sometimes you just have to play better basketball. Like Coach Williams said, we got to play better basketball for North Carolina. Tyshawn Taylor has not had a good tournament. I told people coming in, we had to pick a sleeper guy who was going to shock people. He has not played well. And Robinson got his hands full tonight with those big guys at NC State. This game is going to go down to the wire.
And you talk about better basketball, Chuck. It's more about it's decisions. When you say better basketball, we just got to play better. We just got to make better decisions. Because if you shoot 10 shots and I shoot 10 shots, it's when I shoot my 10 is going to determine if I win or not. And I think that's what's going on right now with Taylor. It's not taking comfortable shots and making better decisions. And I think Lorenzo Brown has really done a great job of running that team as well. And, you know, they've been my team up until today. NC State has been my team. I'm saying they're going to get today. I just think that Kansas has just one player too much for NC State. And I think also the ability to guard for Thomas Robinson is to guard people on the perimeter. They're big, so NC State is going to be the difference.
20 minutes to play in St. Louis, and it's a 33-32 NC State lead over Kansas. Meanwhile, over on CBS, Indiana and Kentucky, they are now into the second half.
And playing well. It's an interesting game. Coming in, you would have thought that Indiana would stay in this game with their ability to shoot the three, and it's actually been the exact opposite. They didn't have Cody Zeller for a long part of that first half, yet they were able to really execute offensively. A lot of backdoor cuts, a lot of slashes to the rim, and a great job of delivering at the right time to attack that vaunted Kentucky defense.
Indiana appears to want to run just as
Yeah, but it was interesting. You look at all those plays on those back doors. Kentucky loves to play aggressive defense, but what they forgot was Mr. Davis wasn't back there. That's why. So they got to ease up a little bit on their defense. You can play pressure defense, and you shouldn't be getting those back doors because Mr. Davis is not back there. But they want to run with Kentucky. That, to me, is what's going to wear them down because Kentucky has the greatest margin of error in this entire tournament. And they just going to keep coming for 40 minutes, and it's going to be tough on anybody to stay consistent for 40 minutes.
Yeah, you're putting a lot of pressure on your offense, trying to compete with them as you run. But I think Indiana, obviously having beaten them earlier, it's a different game than different teams. I think both teams are better now than they were when they first played when Indiana beat them by 1. But I think now when you get to the tournament, the way Kentucky has been playing and putting points on the board, if you're going to run, I still say 80 is that magic number.
It was a 3-point lead for Kentucky at halftime. There is now 14:25 to play in the second half, and Kentucky leads it by 6, 66-60. A timeout. Back with more in just a moment.
Kansas able to make the turn, got back into it over the next 8 minutes with that 20-4 run.
Both clubs really making it hard on the other defensively, Marv. And for Kansas, they had very little success, although when they did go inside to Robinson and get the ball swung from the strong side to the weak side, as we see on this play, he could get good position, and they had some success down there. That's why Robinson was able to get 11 points. Meanwhile, Kansas's defense really loading up on C.J. Leslie. Look at this play here. 5 defenders basically in the paint or on the paint line or on the foul line edges, but Leslie still finds a way to get into the teeth of the defense, goes back to his right hand like he likes to do, and then scores over the top of Withey. But baskets like those have been few and far between. A very defensive-minded game.
Leslie leads the Wolfpack, 12 points, although he is shooting just 4 of 12. How about Jeff Withey with 7 blocked shots in the first half?
Coverage of the NCAA men's basketball tournament is sponsored by the U.S. Postal Service, Autotrader.com, Buick, and by Bud Light.
North Carolina State by 1 over Kansas as we head to the second half. Let's go to Craig with Kansas head coach Bill Self.
Well, Coach, a great defensive first half, but how do you get your offense to maybe open things up in the final 20 minutes?
Well, be a little poised, get the ball the second or third side, and we did some decent things after we got off to a bad start, but still, yeah, we got to do a better job of blocking them off, keeping them off the glass, and then just show some poise offensively.
All right, thanks a lot. Back to you, Mark.
All right, second half underway, and Elijah Johnson knocks down a 3 to get things going for the Jayhawks.
And that was a very poised possession, like what he asked for. That was a third side offensively, meaning the ball got swung twice, making the defense move, and that allowed Johnson the opening.
For Kansas, their first 3-pointer of the game. They'd missed their previous 8, and they take over by virtue of that turnover. Thomas Robinson, Jeff Withey, the big men with Travis Rutherford, Elijah Johnson, and Tyshawn Taylor. Starting 5 for Kansas.
Meanwhile, Marv, Kansas came out of that half in much better shape foul-wise. Robinson and Withey 1 foul each. The front line for NC State in some trouble.
Withey could not hit. but Robinson is right there.
Yeah, Leslie and Howell both have 2. Painter, the first big off the bench, the only big off the bench, he has 3. So keep an eye on that.
C.J. Leslie, Scott Wood, Richard Howell up front. This is Leslie curling in.
Oh, man.
Backcourt of C.J. Williams and Lorenzo Brown. Nice move by Leslie. 2-point lead for Kansas. Foul is called.
Watch this move from Leslie. This is what he does. He's so quick. He'll spin, he'll go around. He loves to turn and face, and he gets around Withy there, but that was his 3rd foul there on the defensive end.
Tyshawn Taylor, 69% free throw shooter for 2 shots. You can watch every game on the road to the Final Four live on your computer, iPad, iPhone, or select Android phones with NCAA March Madness Live. Visit ncaa.com/March Madness for more information. Tyshawn Taylor out of Hoboken, New Jersey. One of the fastest guards in the country, averaging 17 points, 6 assists.
But has struggled here tonight, as Charles and the guys talked about at halftime. Taylor was just 1 for 9 in that first half.
Sean Painter has come on for C.J. Leslie, who just picked up that 3rd foul a moment ago. Brown with that high dribble, rejected by Withy. That is block shot number 8, and Withy comes up with the loose ball.
Looked like Robinson got away with a foul there. I thought he grabbed Howell on the arm on his way up.
Rutherford to the crossover. Oh! Brown will reset. Pass picked off and then deflected out of bounds. Last touch by Taylor.
And with Leslie on the bench with those 3 fouls, well, I would look for NC State to try to get its offense going through Lorenzo Brown. They just tried to get a backdoor cut there to try to take advantage of the pressure being put on Wood. But they have been stifled, really, trying to free Wood up for a 3-point shot. Brown has to get penetration.
Here is Wood, only his 3rd shot attempt. Painter defending on Robinson is trying to front him. Now the double, and it ends up as a deflected pass. Last touch by North Carolina State.
I think that immediate double team from Mark Gottfried was because of that foul trouble that you're looking at right there. He wants to protect his bigs. So he's bringing that double team right away, which means Kansas has to start knocking down some outside shots.
They double up on Robinson. He gets it to Withy. Second field goal for Withy, but the big number, this stat line, the 8 rejections. And you can hear the Kansas crowd coming to life once again. Brown, rebound snatched by Taylor. Pass behind Rutherford, back by Williams. Beautiful passing. Rutherford is rejected. Nice play by Howell coming up with the block shot.
There's so many athletes on the front line in this game. Leslie's going to come back into this game for Painter, but look at the recovery from Howell. 2 athletic front lines going head-to-head. Gottfried goes back to Leslie. He knows this is danger time right now for the Wolfpack. They can't afford to have Leslie on the bench.
Rutherford off the inbounds. Kansas has opened up a 7-point lead, a 10-2 run to start the second half. Timeout, North Carolina State. We've been talking about the 8 blocked shots to this point by Jeff Withy of Kansas. The most blocks in an NCAA tournament game since 1986. Shaquille O'Neal coming up with 11 for LSU against Brigham Young. First round play, March 19th, 92. Apparently 1986, Steve, the first year that blocks were officially kept in NCAA play. NCAA tournament play, I should say.
Withey's got a shot at that record. He needs 3 more to tie it. And the way this game is going with all the inside play from NC State, he'll be out there. He'll get his chances.
Shot clock to 7. Forced by Howell. Kansas with a 7-point lead, looking to add to it. Taylor comes up short. Robinson with the rebound. Finds Withey, and he is fouled. Withey will head to the line, but first we'll take a break.
Back in St. Louis, Kansas by 7. We've been talking about the incredible defense of Jeff Withey. He's been credited with 8 blocks so far. Should have been 9. You see he gets a finger on that one from Howell, and that leads to transition the other way, which eventually ends up in C.J. Leslie's 4th foul. So NC State at a critical juncture of this game, they've got to somehow hang on with their star on the bench.
Jeff Withey to the line for the first time, a 79% free throw shooter. The Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, and he has emerged in this his junior season. Not able to get a game last week against Purdue. Played only 15 minutes due to the matchups and was not a factor following a strong performance against Detroit in Kansas' second round appearance.
This is his kind of game. I mean, if Kansas can win today, Sunday will be his kind of game too, with all that size for Carolina.
12-2 for Kansas. They've opened up the second half, outscoring the Wolfpack 12-2. Now trying to go to the crossover. Here's Williams. Kept alive by Howell. Brown taking to the rim.
Well, with Leslie out, Brown has to be the guy to create the offense for NC State. Mark Gottfried called a set for him. He tried to back down. Taylor couldn't get anything, but ultimately ends up with the ball. And now Wolfpack fall back in a 2-3 zone.
5 minutes gone by, second half. Rebounded by Brown. A flip for Howell. Peter spinning.
Withey right there again.
Johnson is met by Wood. Elijah Johnson. Reynolds Rutherford. Robinson double teamed and lost it. North Carolina State 22-12 overall. They went 9-7 in the ACC, turning it from a year ago when they were 1 under the 500 mark. Here's Wood, a tough angle shot. Rebounded by Robinson. He tried to slam it off the foot of Williams, and the officials conferring on the call. Well, he apparently stepped out. So it is North Carolina State in possession. Substitutions for Kansas, Connor Tehan and Kevin Young. Check back in.
Kansas has to be very careful with Wood here. They can't fall asleep like they did in the first half. In the last couple of minutes of that half, he hit a big 3 and he was able to free himself up. Johnson has to stay with him.
And there is Wood with a deep 3. Scott Wood, 6'6" junior from Marion, Indiana, who averages 12 points per game, and he shoots 42% from downtown.
That's a huge shot because it just gives them hope. Again, same as the end of the first half. His shot was so big, just in keeping the momentum going.
Brown nearly picked it off. Teahan back for Robinson. Connor Teahan has played very well.
Oh, what a pass from Teahan. Great ball movement in general from Kansas. Patience against that zone, finally ending up with the ball in Robinson's hand.
Strong game for Thomas Robinson, 15 points, 12 rebounds. Taylor lost to Robinson with the steal, leads Johnson. Elijah Johnson on the break. Kansas has an 8-point lead. Nowhere to go. Wood for three. And Robinson on the loose ball. The winner of Kansas-North Carolina State will face North Carolina in the Midwest Regional Final here in St. Louis on Sunday. Robinson. And a foul is called on the Jayhawks. It is on Young.
Well, Kansas gets out in transition here after the Robinson steal. He finds Elijah Johnson. Easy two for Kansas. They've got an 8-point lead.
All right, thank you, Greg. 8-point Kansas lead with just over 8 minutes gone by in the second half here in St. Louis.
Leslie's still on the bench with the 4 fouls, and Mark Gottfried's going to have to play this delicately. He can't afford to get behind by too much. He's going to have to bring him back pretty soon here.
Wood getting it down low. Harris did not hit. Nice touch by Tyler Harris.
NC State's fans are so upset behind us here at Marv Howell with that offensive board and no call. He really kind of forced the action. Wolfpack looking for a foul on Withy, but he did a nice job of staying tall.
This has obviously not been a good shooting game, although Kansas has picked it up. They're 6 of 12 from the field thus far in this second half. Young had it knocked away. Here's Brown, a pass behind him, could not handle. Back comes Taylor, puts it in front of it. The lob from Tyshawn Taylor to Jeff Withy.
And give Taylor credit, Marv, because he's shooting 1 for 10 tonight. It clearly has not been his day, but he has kept his enthusiasm, his energy, and his defensive intensity up. As Wood's going to get fouled on a 3. But I've been so impressed with Taylor's countenance in this game. Despite his countenance.
Whoa, I've never heard you use that word.
I try to pick a new one out once in a while. But it's tough when you go 1 for 10, and you know it's so easy to feel sorry for yourself. And Taylor just maintained his poise, and he's high-fiving his teammates during timeouts, and he makes a huge play there.
So Scott Wood, one of the best free throw shooters in the nation, at 90%. You use that word around the house?
Frequently, yeah.
With the kids?
Yeah. My youngest frequently has nice countenance.
Yeah. This year, enjoy more madness with Coke Zero. Text CAMP to 2653 for a chance to attend an ultimate basketball camp with 3 of your friends.
But only 3, not 4.
I'd have trouble finding 3. We've talked about that in the past. Yes. Kansas up by 7.
Big play there. Wood getting the 3 free throws. Kansas, it felt like they were pulling away. This buys C.J. Leslie maybe a couple more minutes on the bench.
Harris, a nice job momentarily fronting Robinson, and then off that scramble for the loose ball, it's batted out of bounds by North Carolina State. 17 on the shot clock. Robinson played by Harris. Harris, a freshman out of Dix Hills, New York. Rutherford with a catch and shoot for 3. Lorenzo Brown challenging Jeff Withy and fired one up. There's Howell. Robinson able to grab the rebound.
And the ones that Withy isn't blocking, he's affecting anyway, just with his presence down there. While NC State has used the 2-3 zone, now they go back to the man.
Shot clock to 10. And out of bounds by Howell of North Carolina State. Tyshawn Taylor will return, coming on for Connor Tehan. Elijah Johnson tosses in. Shot clock to 7. Taylor. Here come the Wolfpack. Withy was chasing the play. The ball was batted away. Foul is called on Kansas. That's number 2 on Withy.
NC State really forcing the action. Marv Leslie on the bench, so they're trying to get any easy points they can. So Brown really pushing the ball in transition. And this is a team that is capable. They average about 14 fast break points per game this year. So they will get out and run on you. And that's exactly what they need to do here with Leslie on the bench.
Lorenzo Brown at the line, averaging just under 13 a game. TNT this summer, the end is just the beginning. From TNT and DreamWorks Television, Falling Skies for the latest on the new season. Like us on Facebook. Lorenzo Brown has made the transition from 2 guard to the point. Mark Godfrey very pleased with his play. Brown a sophomore. That's 10 points. And North Carolina State pulling within 5. Robinson. Withy and a foul. It's on the Wolfpack.
This game has just been so physical. Well, Robinson just tried to will his way to the rim on that play, and then they end up with a couple of offensive rebounds. Was that Brown who got called for the foul? Yeah. Meanwhile, C.J. Leslie continues to sit, and I think as long as the Pack can keep this thing within 5-7 points, Mark Gottfried will keep him on the bench and try to bring him in maybe the last 5 or 6 minutes.
There's a second foul committed by Brown. Just under 9 minutes to play. Second half. Withy comes out to set the screen. Taylor gets it down low. They collapse on Robinson. And he will head to the line. "14 rebounds for Thomas Robinson. He, in terms of a single season, with 428 and counting, only Wilt Chamberlain had more rebounds in a single season. That was back in 1957.
Not a bad list there. Robinson knocks down the free throw. Great job against that zone for Kansas, getting the ball swung and allowing Robinson to establish that low post position.
Robinson 4 of 7 at the line. Kansas has a 6-point lead. The winner here goes against North Carolina. And the Elite 8 on Sunday will have that game on CBS. Nice pickup, and then the shot by Howell is blocked, and last touch by Howell.
Boy, frustration for Richard Howell tonight. He just can't get anything over the top of Withy, and Robinson doing a nice job of bodying him as well. Howell will go to the bench. He's 2 for 11 from the floor. He's got 14 rebounds, but you can see the frustration on his face. Just has not been able to convert.
And that was the 9th block shot by Jeff Withey. Deshaun Painter and Alex Johnson have come back for North Carolina State. Rutherford shoots for 3. And Brown on the rebound. Brown off the dribble, trying to set it up. Painter, see how he is affected by Withey. And then Harris cannot hit. Rutherford with the spin. Oh, what a move. Travis Rutherford spinning his way.
And what a turn of events, because Harris had an easy 2, but he felt Withey's presence, so he rushed it, and that led to the transition hoop the other way, a 4-point swing.
Wood looking for some room, goes to the runner. Withey rebounds, and he is hit. Foul committed by Tyler Harris.
How about this move? Travis Rutherford in transition, a little deep to the left, a spin, the lay-in, and the Jayhawks up by 8.
A look at our game summary. North Carolina State now 27% from the field. C.J. Leslie picking up a 4th foul and has been sitting and now checks back in. Big story for Kansas. Actually a combo story with Thomas Robinson coming up with a 26 double-double and the 7-foot center Jeff Withey with 9 blocked shots. That ties a career record. 3rd time he's had 9 in a game. Robinson.
Set play out of the timeout from Bill Self, and a great job by Kansas getting the ball to Robinson down on the block where he could just go right up with it before NC State could defend him with any helpers.
Kansas by 10. Leslie. C.J. Leslie off the bench and able to connect. He has 16 points.
That's about the extent of his range, Marvin. With this lineup in for NC State, Kansas can really pack its defense in. Wood getting a rest. Very little 3-point shooting for the Wolfpack.
Rutherford getting the pick from Young. Here's Young on the roll. And the foul is called on North Carolina State.
This was the set play we talked about. Kansas running a little rub pick for Taylor. Young gets the ball on the elbow, and all the while that's going on, Robinson establishing that presence right in front of the hoop.
C.J. Williams called for the foul. That'll put Kevin Young at the line for the first time. Just under 70%. Kevin Young, a 6'8" junior, transferred to Kansas after 2 years at Loyola Marymount, where he was averaging 10 points, 6 rebounds. So Kansas now leads 56-47. Coming up on 6 minutes remaining. Wood with some room. He came out looking for the block shot on that 3-point attempt. There's Wood again. Rebounded by Robinson. That's not broken up. Renzo Brown in the middle of the pack. Leslie. And let's see. Oh, it's a blocking foul. For a moment it appeared that CJ was going to pick up number 5.
That sloppy action going back and forth. Looked like Robinson had perfect position there. I'm not sure why this is a block. It's either a flop and a no call or it's a charge, but it's not a block.
Instead, Robinson hit with a second foul.
Robinson gets so out of hand sometimes in transition. He gets so excited. I mean, he handles the ball pretty well for a big guy, and he can really run. But he's got to be smarter than that in transition on that last play.
Brown not able to hit on that open three. Now here's Wood. Williams for three. Yes. C.J. Williams knocks down a three. The Kansas lead is trimmed to 6.
Every time it feels like Kansas is pulling away, NC State finds a way to make a big play. There you see Leslie getting stretched out. He may have some cramps here. But give NC State credit. The zone has kept Kansas off balance. Jayhawks are 1 for 12 from the three-point line. You see the woes for NC State offensively, and yet they're only 6 down.
Wood defending on Relaford. Here's Robinson. Taylor. Relaford's pass picked off. Painter. Something not to go with it.
Everybody on the bench yelling at him, get the ball back out to Brown.
Williams for three. And Taylor comes up with it.
Both teams look tired right now, Marv. I think both coaches just trying to get to the under 4-minute timeout.
Taylor attempting the lob, and it carried out of bounds, so the ball back to North Carolina State. Leslie checks back in, comes on for Painter. Relaford will sit down. And Kentucky defeating Indiana, so in the regional final in Atlanta, it will be Kentucky and Baylor on Sunday on CBS.
How about Kentucky? They score 102 points tonight.
Foul on Robinson, and that is his third.
This is how NC State started this game, trying to isolate Leslie on Robinson. The change here is that he goes baseline. Early in the game, he was trying to get to the middle, and Kansas's guards were there to help. But Leslie trying to go baseline that time where there's no help from the guards.
15 foul called on Kansas. NC State with 6. Approaching 4 minutes remaining. 6-point Kansas lead. Brown getting inside. I believe he was looking for Howell.
I couldn't tell if that was a shot or a pass. Either way, Kansas just continues to bottle up the Wolfpack defensively.
Oh, Taylor. A little spin off glass by Tyshawn Taylor. 8-point lead for the Jayhawks. Leslie swinging in. Oh, beautiful move. Able to avoid Withy, who comes up hobbling.
Yeah, Withy really limping here, but Bill Self does not want to use a timeout. He's only got 3 left, and there's an automatic coming next dead ball.
Connor Teahan. Deflected out of bounds, last touch by North Carolina State.
Well, Tyshawn Taylor not getting much to go from the outside, but look at the athleticism and the spin move off the glass. 3:09 to play, Kansas by 6. We'll get a look here at why Jeff Withy was hobbling. Look at his right or left thigh. Gets tangled up there with Leslie. May have gotten a slight little Charlie horse. And meanwhile, Leslie, how about the shot that he's able to get off? Just that subtle little hook move. Amazing the way he's able to contort his body and find ways to get that shot off.
It appears Jeff Withy was able to walk it off. It is Kansas ball at their baseline as we come up on 3 minutes to play. Kansas up by 6. Looking to advance to the Elite 8 and a matchup against the Tar Heels of North Carolina on Sunday on CBS. Here's Taylor. Robinson and Withy try to save it, and it's deflected out, so the ball back to the Wolfpack.
Looked like they both had a chance at that offensive rebound. That would have been the 20th on the night for Kansas, but they couldn't secure it, and that leaves the door open for State.
The Kansas portion of the crowd coming to life, looking for a stop here by the Jayhawks. Brown for three. Last touched by North Carolina State. Deflected out by Howell with 2:27 remaining.
Well, what a struggle for both teams offensively. Dangerous pass there from Teahan to Robinson.
Withy comes out to set the screen.
NC State back to their man-to-man.
And now Bill Self wants to talk things over. Takes a timeout. We'll be back to St. Louis in a moment. Well, the first two slots of the Final Four in Division II are filled tomorrow. A full slate of college basketball beginning with the Infinity tip-off on True TV, followed by the Division II championship on CBS. 19 on the shot clock, 2 minutes 10 seconds remaining in this second half. Kansas in possession. They have a 6-point lead. Elijah Johnson takes in the backcourt. Taylor wide open for three.
Boy, just can't buy one tonight. Kansas 1 for 14 from the line.
Here's one for three, and again he is fouled in three-point territory.
Unbelievable. That's the second time he's been fouled on a three-pointer here in the last 5 minutes or so. Bill Self can't believe it. At one end, Taylor with a wide-open three, but a long miss leads to a long rebound, and he does bump him on the way down. You have to allow that shooter room to come down.
Foul on Elijah Johnson, so it stops the clock, and it puts one of the great free throw shooters in the nation at 90% at the line.
And if he makes this one, we've got a one-possession game, which seems almost impossible. It's felt like Kansas has been in control here most of the second half. But NC State has just found a way to hang around. Some of it Kansas is doing. They just can't make a shot right now.
Light pressure shown by North Carolina State. They have moved within three with just under 2 minutes remaining second half. Robinson bobbled it. Shot clock to 9. Taylor lost it. Here come the Wolfpack, 2-on-1. It is a one-point game. C.J. Williams on the layup. Look out, Taylor able to save it. Coming up on a minute remaining, and a timeout called by Kansas again. 58-57, Kansas clinging to a one-point lead. The Wolfpack with a 7-0 run, able to convert off the turnover. Gottfried of North Carolina State has 3 timeouts remaining. Kansas with only 1. It's a one-point game. How does North Carolina State play it here?
Well, they don't need to foul. They can play out the possession. Kansas has had all kinds of trouble trying to score. So NC State can rely on its defense. And if you're Kansas, you got to get the ball to Robinson on the block if possible. But NC State has made that very difficult.
Shot clock to 10. 50 seconds remaining in the half. Johnson saves it. 1 on the shot clock. Johnson heaves one, and it is a shot clock violation. The ball back to North Carolina State.
Boy, the turnovers and the really ill-advised decision-making by Kansas here in the last couple minutes has allowed Mark Gottfried's club to hang around, and now almost impossibly they've got a chance to take the lead.
Kansas with 5 turnovers the last 4 minutes. Timeout is called by NC State. Kansas by 1, 37 seconds remaining. Coming up next on TBS, Ernie Johnson, Seth Davis, Steve Smith, and Virginia Commonwealth head coach Shaka Smart. We'll have highlights and analysis on Inside March Madness presented by Buick. How about this meltdown by the Jayhawks of Kansas?
Unbelievable. I mean, they were in total control of this game, but they couldn't pull away. And now for NC State, I think you bring Wood off of a double pick and then get Leslie on the block on the same side.
A 12-3 run by North Carolina State. Here is Wood for 3. Back tap kept alive by Leslie. Leslie on the move. Leslie blocked. Rutherford able to get to it. Here comes Taylor. They have to foul, and Brown picks up the foul. And that puts North Carolina State over the limit.
Wood had a decent look coming off that double. Not a great one, but a decent one. And then the offensive board here. And this was the best opportunity. Leslie at his best going to the hoop. Great block. Was it Robinson or Withy? And now Taylor goes to the line.
He is 2 of 4 at the line, a 69% free throw shooter.
And this should be 1-1. So a ton of pressure on Tyshawn Taylor. And if you're Mark Gottfried, if he misses, do you let your team go or do you call a timeout? Remember, we saw Wisconsin last night with a timeout try to play out the last possession, and they couldn't get anything to go to beat Syracuse. But that's up to the coach. Tough decision.
North Carolina State does have 2 timeouts remaining. Kansas with 1. It is chipped out of bounds. Last touched by North Carolina State. Howell reaching for it, not able to control.
Unbelievable. What a bad break for NC State. Howell so frustrated. That free throw was missed so badly that the carom came off almost too far for Howell to retrieve. Now if you're Kansas, I think you got to get the ball to Elijah Johnson. He's been your most reliable player here the last few games. He has not gone to the free throw line yet tonight.
Now C.J. Leslie will sit down. This is a defensive-offensive shuffle by Mark Gottfried. Oh, Elijah Johnson able to break free, took the pass, and extends the lead. Elijah Johnson off the inbounds pass hits on the drive to extend the Kansas lead to 3. And now Kansas using its final timeout.
Watch Johnson make a move right into the paint. NC State was so concerned about denying the pass out on the perimeter that it allowed him an open lane, and he finishes with the lay-in, and then Bill Self calls the timeout to get his defense set up.
13.5 remaining in regulation. What a doubleheader. Although this game obviously not nearly as well played as we saw in the opener between North Carolina and Ohio.
Meanwhile, NC State with 2 timeouts left, Mark, so they have a decision to make. Do they go for a 3 with Wood, or do they attack the basket? I would attack the rim here with Leslie. If they can push the ball ahead, I would attack, because there's no way Kansas will want to foul. And if you can get to the hoop, you never know. You may draw a foul anyway. Then with the 2 timeouts left, you can still stop the clock and play the foul game.
C.J. Leslie checking back in. He was pulled for the possession at the defensive end. Another look on that inbounds play with Elijah Johnson able to score.
C.J. Williams was extended so far out beyond the 3-point line, and that's what allowed him that lane. Meanwhile, NC State calls a timeout.
North Carolina State down to 1 timeout remaining. Kansas used their final timeout. Kansas foul would put them over the limit. You see possession arrow in favor of North Carolina State. So we have come to the final seconds here. 13.5 left. And Kansas up by 3.
And if NC State hits a 3, Kansas without a timeout, they have to just go.
Lorenzo Brown fires cross court to Wood. Here's Howell for 3. Apparently Wood stepped out.
Yeah, he stepped out on the sideline. That's a difficult play to run with a cross-court pass. And the pass is high, and look at Wood comes right down on that line. Nice idea on the play, but tough execution with the angle of the pass.
Wood was backpedaling, could not get to it, and the foul is given with 4.3 to go. Thomas Robinson is the man that North Carolina State would like to see at the line. He's 4 of 8 from the free throw line, a 68% shooter at the strike.
NC State with 1 timeout left, Marv. So again, a decision for Gottfried. If he misses, I think you just go. I don't think you even mess around with a timeout. I think you just push it and try to beat Kansas to the punch before they can set up their defense.
1-and-1 for Robinson.
Missed it.
All right, here comes Wood, and no, they call for time. And they'll have to check the clock. It shows 2.9, but they'll take a look.
And I think he called it because the ball got deflected, and it took a full second, almost a second and a half off the clock. So good move there from Gottfried.
The question is how much time remaining. We're listening for the whistle, and the officiating crew over to check the replay. Michael Stevens, Brian O'Connell, Greg Nixon.
Looked to me like maybe 3.1, right in that range. Let's listen to it one more time. I think if they had gotten the ball cleanly, they just would have pushed it. But when it's deflected and the full second goes out, let's listen in. Well, regardless, whether there's 2.9 or maybe 3.1, 3.2, you know, we saw this last week more with Missouri against Norfolk State trying to advance the ball. So if you're NC State, you've got to get either the pass all the way down to a player in position to maybe take a dribble and get himself into 3-point range, or get Lorenzo Brown on the run, on the move, and give him enough time to bounce it and get up a shot.
They continue to show 2.9, so apparently that's what it is. And C.J. Williams will throw in from his backcourt.
I don't think Kansas will foul here, Orf, but that's always an option. But just very little time to make anything happen.
Pass intended for Wood, and it's Howell coming up short, and Kansas holds on for the victory over North Carolina State. The final, Kansas 60, NC State 57. And Kansas advances to the Elite Eight to face North Carolina Sunday, a game that will be seen on CBS. Kansas goes to 30-6. They advance to the Elite Eight for the 4th time the last 8 years. Thomas Robinson with a double-double, 18 points, 15 rebounds. Here's a look at that last play.
Ideally, that pass should have been at the foul line, and they had Wood running the wing. But you see Wood coming down. I think they wanted Howell to pass to Wood, but the pass was so wide of the mark that it was impossible to execute. And then Howell just has to throw one up there.
And And the big numbers, Robinson 18 and 15, and Jeff Withey with a career high 10 block shots. Let's go to Craig.
Well, Coach, a terrific night of basketball here in St. Louis. How relieved are you that you were able to pull this one out?
It's 2 in a row. You know, we got off to a horrible start again, and then what really guarded them well is really after the first 10 minutes or so, but didn't rebound the ball great. And then we had some guys that usually make plays or make free throws. We just didn't do it tonight, but fortunately we got enough stops.
Thomas Robinson is your Big 12 Player of the Year. He is sensational tonight. But what about what Jeff Withey did to keep you guys in the ball game?
Well, the thing about Jeff, he's a great rim protector. And, you know, I had to watch the tape, but I don't know how many blocks he had, probably 10 or 12, but he probably altered another 5 or 6. I thought he was a huge force defensively. They got behind us too many times, and he bailed us out.
Well, thanks a lot. Officially, he had 10 blocks. Obviously, at one point, it looked like you were tired. I think you petted, you wanted out. Coach said, no, you're staying in. What was it that you saw that you could block their shots or deflect so many?
You know, that's what I do is block shots. When I got a little winded down there when I started pulling my shirt. You know, they're a great team. You know, they got the best of us tonight. You know, it's a quick game. You know, they rebound the ball well, and you know, it's a great game, and that's what I do is block shots.
A great game tonight, Thomas, but you got a big task ahead of you Sunday where you take on North Carolina, their big front line. What do you guys have to do? What do you expect out of your teammates in that game?
We just got to play bigger. You know, we let their bigs get the best of us tonight. You know, they got a lot of second chance points that me and Jeff allowed, you know, but Jeff still stepped up tonight. And, you know, going against that front line, that line of North Carolina, we got to step up and play big come Sunday.
All right, thanks a lot. Congratulations. And we will have Kansas against Carolina on Sunday. Back to you, Marv.
All right, Craig, the last time that they met, Kansas in the 2008 NCAA Final Four defeated North Carolina, and then Bill Self's Jayhawks went on to take the national championship. Again, the final score, Kansas 60, North Carolina State 57. It will be North Carolina and Kansas on CBS on Sunday. Coming up, Inside March Madness presented by Buick for Steve Kerr, Craig Sager, and the rest of our crew. I'm Marv Albert saying good night from St. Louis. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll send you to our NCAA studio.
Kansas is into the Elite Eight. Jeff Withey with a bucket here, but his story was blocks. In fact, I'm told he just blocked another one, and the game's already over. 60-57, Kansas knocks out NC State. The schedule for Saturday and Sunday. Florida and Louisville on Saturday at 4:30 on CBS. At 7:05, Ohio State and Syracuse with trips to the Final Four on the line. Same story on Sunday. Baylor taking on Kentucky. That one at 2:20 on CBS. And then at 5:05, the Jayhawks of Kansas against the top-seeded North Carolina Tar Heels. Welcome to Inside March Madness presented by Buick. Man, what a night. Ernie Johnson, Seth Davis, Steve Smith, VCU head coach Shaka Smart.
I like that hat. It looks like the Indiana sweatpants.
Oh, man.
Same material.
Oh, that's incredible. Meantime, Kansas and NC State. This also in St. Louis. The winner getting North Carolina. And strange game. NC State really off to a good start in this game, Shaka.
Well, they really did. But I thought a pivotal point in the game came when Bill Self called timeout and got all over his team. And you could see in the timeout he had a few choice words. From there, Withey started to block shots. Robinson got involved, and they were a much, much better basketball team.
That was early, too. Bill wasn't having it tonight.
That's Robinson. They're part of a 10-0 run. I know you like Lorenzo Brown for the Wolfpack.
You know, I do. I thought, you know, he's the type of player that got him here, got them there. One thing he had tonight is him and Tayshaun Taylor had some tough shooting nights. North Carolina State, they just hung around after they had that lead, and Kansas came back.
33-32, Wolfpack at the half, and then They jump out 12-2 to the Jayhawks to start the second half.
Yeah, these two bigs played like grown men tonight, and with Withy and Robinson, they can go head-to-head with any pair of big men in the country, and they definitely led the way for Kansas.
Thomas Robinson, that's a great pass.
It was, great time play, but also a big-time finish.
That's Elijah Johnson making it 48-40. Withy does more than just block shots.
Get it.
Yes, sir. They're up by 10.
His improvement from last year, I mean, it's just, to me, it's one of the great stories in college basketball to see a guy like that playing behind the Morris twins. Really wasn't a factor at all in their run last year.
This was a huge play. Rutherford with the spin cycle.
You talk about Withy, 19 blocks last year, 126 blocks this year.
Nice.
Ups the lead again to 58-50 to Tyshawn Taylor. The game is not
foul the jump shot shooter.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that a time or two. Yeah. And Scott Wood did get fouled, and he's a deadly free throw shooter, so it's 58-55.
Great job there by NC State capitalizing on the turnover. And then at the end of the game, Scott Wood got this look. Not a bad shot. They rebounded. You get the ball in the hands of your best player, went and attacked. But again, there's Withy, there's Robinson affecting his shot. Great out-of-bounds play at the end by Kansas, executing and getting the layup.
This is a very difficult pass and catch to make, and he steps out of bounds to Scott Wood.
Still have a chance. I thought right here, Shaka maybe could have kicked it over to Scott Wood. Maybe not. You know, it's tough just in that situation, but love to see if Scott Wood would have got a look.
Yeah, that would have been fun to watch. I tell you what, Ernie, you look at Kansas, you look at North Carolina, and last night Syracuse, 3 high seeds that admittedly did not play their best basketball in those games, but found a way to win. And now all 3 of those teams make it to the Elite 8.
60-57, Kansas over NC State. Most blocks in a tournament game. You see Jeff Withy's name in there with his double digits, 10. Just one off the record held by Shaquille O'Neal, and you see the other names in there, including the Admiral David Robinson with 9. After the game, Bill Self, Greg Sager.
We got to be better than that. We got to be better than that. You know, we dodged one last week, and we dodged one tonight, and we haven't played our best yet. We've got to save our best for Sunday. Okay, our best has to be Sunday. We get a chance to play a terrific team, you know, and a team that can, obviously, preseason #1, got a chance to win it all. But guys, I like the matchup. We get a chance to play a terrific team, but we're a terrific team. We just haven't shown everybody what we can do. Jeff, you bailed us out defensively, 10 blocks for Withy tonight. But guys, how do you go 1 for 14 from 3 and 11 to 20 from the free throw line? We got to play a lot smarter. All right, and the other thing we got to understand, when we got the ball to the second or third side, Coach, you agree? Got the ball second or third side, we either got fouled or scored almost every possession. But when we bail teams out by trying to score on the first side, if we don't have transition, we play right into their hands. And we did that way too much. Great pass, Tyshawn. Great cut, Elijah, at game point. That was terrific. Okay, you guys did a fabulous job there, and good defense down the stretch. But guys, be happy, be excited. Don't even remotely be satisfied. Okay, we got to go to work. Withy, Relaford, Juneman, and who?
Robinson.
And Robinson. You guys got to go take the lead. Okay, everybody got that? So after media. After media. Okay. Proud of you guys. Get your hands in. Let's go. Come on. Here we go. Guys. Hey, let's go now. Right where we need to be. Let's go. 7 defense. Yeah, you got 10 defensive rebounds.
Well, Coach, it was just a terrific night of basketball here, but when you come out on the losing end of a game, your kids fought so hard. How difficult is it, and what'd you tell them?
Well, we're crushed. They're crushed, but I'm proud of them. You know, you got to take a step back, and you got to look at where we started, you know, back in April and then even in October, and look at where we are. So I'm proud of them. I think the whole NC State community, alumni, city, fan, I mean, everybody proud of these guys. So we're hurting right now, but they helped generate some excitement that hasn't been around our program in a long time. So I'm proud of them.
All right, thanks a lot. Thank you. Back to you guys.
All right. Awkward. Not that as much as, yes, the Bill Self. That happens after games sometimes, doesn't it, Smitty?
It does.
You have to go do that.
A lot of water in these cups on the desk. Why am I all of a sudden noticing the water on the,
Ernie,
on the desk?
Seth, Shaka, go take a leak.
I'm sorry, I've got a show to do, but afterwards we'll get that taken care of. Kansas